Hello, everybody. I'm doing my podcast on ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. It was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush on July 26, 1990. This took place shortly after an event that most people don't really know about in regards to ADA, the so-called Capitol Crawl. During this event, a large group of people with disabilities assembled in front of the Capitol, proceeded to shed their crutches, wheelchairs, and other such things, and then crawl up the 100 steps to the Capitol, thus inconveniencing several senators, and this is said to have helped with the passage of the law. Then in 2008, the ADAA, the Americans with Disabilities Amendments Act, was signed into law. The original ADA is modeled after the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The ADA is an equal opportunity law for people with disabilities. The ADA does not specifically list all of the impairments that are covered, but rather defines a disability as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. People protected under the law are those who have a disability, a person who has a history or record of an impairment, and people who are perceived by others as having an impairment. Under the ADAA, the positive effects of mitigating measures, such as medication, medical equipment and devices, and prosthetic limbs, cannot be used in determining if a person meets the definition of disability. Instead, the determination must focus on whether an individual would be substantially limited in performing a major life activity without the mitigating measure. This is a major change from the original ADA, under which, under certain circumstances, somebody could be considered as a non-disabled person because of the mitigating measure providing assistance to them to where they have no issues performing major life activities. There are also several ways in which the ADA affects EMS and fire departments. One is in regards to facilities, and in regards to that, the ADA says that the path of travel must be provided for those who are disabled. The path of travel includes restrooms, telephones, and drinking fountains, and they must be provided for in new construction or alterations to areas that contain a primary function for which the facility is intended. Then another important issue for EMS and fire departments, obviously under the ADA, is hiring. And this affects it in a little bit different ways for private entities as opposed to public entities. Title I provisions only apply to private employers with 15 or more employees. This would be, for example, Rural Metro or AmeriCare would fall under Title I. Public entities must pay attention to provisions in Title I and Title II, no matter the size of their workforce. And when it comes to hiring, the ADA basically says that when an individual can be reasonably accommodated without creating an undue hardship or causing a direct threat to workplace safety, he or she should be given the same consideration for employment as any other applicant. The ADA permits qualification standards, however, that will exclude individuals who pose a direct threat to health or safety if the risk cannot be reduced or eliminated by reasonable accommodation. This threat cannot be assumed. It must be established through objective, medically supportable methods. And my feeling is that for any department, whether private, public, EMS, fire, combination, it would be a good idea to establish standards and have these in writing, so that's basically the situation is as clear as possible what expectations are, and that will leave less gray area when it comes to hiring